Thanks very much, Christy. And thanks to all of you. I appreciate you joining us here. It'll be great to talk with you this morning about the liberal arts and about STU. I'm always eager to talk about STU, St. Thomas. It's a really special place, as you heard some of our admissions counselors and recruiters talk about. I really think when I talk about St. Thomas, there are two things that really stand out to me. And two things I think you ought to know as you make your decision about where you want to go for university. One of them is that St. Thomas is small. And when it comes to your undergraduate institution, I think that's a really good thing. As Christy maybe just alluded to at the very beginning, I too am a STU grad. I graduated from St. Thomas about 20 years ago, kind of a long time now. So I went to St. Thomas for my undergrad degree. And then when I did my graduate work, I went to a really big university, 30,000 students. So I have kind of that experience of going to a small institution and going to a really big institution. And I can tell you firsthand, both as a student and now as a teacher, that really like the advantages of studying at a small institution are just incomparable. I really don't think there's anything that matters more when I'm talking to people who are thinking about their undergraduate institution. The major advantage is that you get direct access to your professors. So at a place like St. Thomas, I know my students. I know their names, and probably not just their names. I might know their favorite book. I might know, what they like to study, what their major is, what clubs they're involved in on campus. I might know what they hope to do, what their goals are, what their career goals are. And to have that kind of relationship with your professors, I think it is just unparalleled. Like it's just phenomenal. And it really changes the character and the quality of your undergraduate education. So I think that's really something you want to think about. The other thing I think that makes STU really special, and this has also been touched on before, but the community at St. Thomas is really something remarkable. I don't think you find communities like this at every university. And I think one of the things that makes that possible at STU is that at St. Thomas, we are focused exclusively on the liberal arts. This is what we do. This is our specialty. And what that means is everybody who studies here, even if you're studying fine arts or criminology, human rights, journalism, communications, I think it's also true of social work and education. Whatever you're studying at St. Thomas, it really feels like everybody's participating in the same big conversation. We don't have an engineering faculty or a business faculty, computer science. We're all kind of involved in the same shared enterprise. And that makes the campus community really special, because even when we're studying different things, it seems like we're all interested in the same kinds of questions, the same kinds of conversations. So that's really extraordinary. And as Christy said, what we do is a liberal arts, and sometimes there's a little bit of ambiguity or uncertainty around the liberal arts. It's not something you probably talk about day to day. Us, we talk about it every day, but maybe you don't talk about the liberal arts in your day-to-day life. So you may wonder, okay, what is this? What am I studying? Because this is really the question for you. Why would you want to study the liberal arts? What's in it for you? What's in it for the world? What's the point of it? And why would I study this as opposed to studying something else? So I have 3 reasons that I'm going to give you for why you might want to study the liberal arts. And I'll just go through those here for you over the next 7 minutes or so. The first is really about you, and mostly about jobs and careers, because I know that a lot of you, and maybe a lot of your parents, maybe some of your parents are watching with you, are really concerned about this, right? What am I going to do for a career? How will this degree set me up with a career for the rest of my life? And it's a bit tricky in the liberal arts when we talk about jobs and careers. And the reason it's a little tricky is in other disciplines, you study engineering and you become an engineer. You study computer science and you work with computers. You study business and then you work in business, right? There seems to be this like clear line between I study this and then I become this thing. And in the liberal arts, it's a little harder to predict exactly what you're going to become, because really there are so many different things that you could become. If I think of my own students, for example, they are involved in urban planning, public policy, publishing, IT, journalism, they're teachers and lawyers. They've moved out into a wide variety of fields. And part of this is you're able to do this because the skills that you develop in a liberal arts program are highly sought after in a variety of fields and very flexible. You can use them to do lots of different things because in liberal arts disciplines, you learn how to write, you learn how to communicate, you learn how to understand complicated ideas, how to digest complicated material, read difficult books and texts. You learn how to analyze arguments. You learn how to make persuasive arguments of your own, right? These are skills that are really broadly applicable. I have one of our Great Books graduates once said to me, our program, Great Books, the way it works, we sit around a big seminar table and we argue about books. This is what we do. It might be philosophy or literature, theology, all sorts of things, right? And one of our graduates said to us after graduation, at work, I'm really good at meetings. I'm really good at meetings because of all those hours I logged in the seminar room in Great Books. Because what we did was we sat around this long table and we spoke up about our ideas, right? We shared our ideas. We listened to our peers. We sort of processed their ideas. Maybe we modified them. We learned how to think collaboratively. We learned how to be critical of arguments and talk with each other. And all these skills translate directly to the workplace. Sometimes it might seem a little mysterious, but as I said, like my students have gone into all these fields. I've got like morning radio show hosts and people who work in public policy for the federal government. And these are great book students, right? These are students who might be writing a thesis on Greek philosophy, right? But the reason they make that transition is because of those skills they developed in the liberal arts classroom. So I know there's a lot of anxiety around careers when you're thinking about your university degree, but I just want you to know that there's a wide variety of things you can do with a liberal arts degree. And so you can lower your anxiety a little bit because I think this is a degree that makes you extremely adaptable and very employable, quite honestly. The second thing I want to talk about, this is the second reason I think you might want to study the liberal arts. And really, this has more to do with the rest of us. And that's, I think the liberal arts is a degree that serves the public good. And what I mean by that is that a lot of the problems that we face as a society, as a world, are very complicated, and we need to bring liberal arts expertise to bear on those problems. It may seem, we think of a lot of problems as like science or technical problems. Just to give you an example, one thing I've been thinking about a lot lately, maybe you too, is artificial intelligence. There's a lot of advances in artificial intelligence being made these days. And that seems like a STEM topic, right? A technology, science thing. What can artificial intelligence do? How can we increase its capacities? How can we make it more user-friendly? All these kinds of things. But when you look at a development like that from a liberal arts perspective, you can see that there are all sorts of issues and complications and problems that are going to require people with liberal arts expertise. If you just think about some of these technologies, if you think about, deepfake technology and the AI imagery and video software we're seeing online these days, what are we going to do? How are we going to handle it when people are able to create very persuasive video simulations of world leaders like Justin Trudeau? If I can make a video of Justin Trudeau saying he wants to wage war on Mexico or something like that, okay, well, how do we prepare for that, right? When that happens. If I can use a voice simulator technology to, if I can download your voice off TikTok and then impersonate you and call your grandmother and ask for money, what are the ethical and criminal implications around those sorts of situations? And I think we're probably way far away from this. I don't know if we'll ever get there, but if it is possible that we can make a robot that actually attains a level of consciousness, right, that becomes self-aware, well, what are the ethical implications of that? If a company like Microsoft can create a self-conscious robot, are they just allowed to own that robot and tell it what to do? You can sort of see all the philosophical, ethical dimensions around these problems. And this, I think, demonstrates to us that all these problems that we face in the world are not just technical. They're not just scientific. They're not just STEM problems. They have ethical, legal, philosophical implications that we need to work out. And if you think about things like homelessness, like economic inequality, like refugee crises, many of the problems that we confront, war that we confront in the world, in the news, day to day, these are not problems that can easily be fixed by STEM fields. These are problems that are going to require liberal arts expertise. So I'm not being hyperbolic here, but the world does need people like you. We need people who can develop this expertise and who can help us solve these problems. So that's the second reason. The third one is maybe the most important, and I'll just finish on this. And it's the meaning of life. It's about the meaning of life. I think it is just true. And I think, your parents will tell you the same thing, that a job is not your life. Your whole life is not your job. That's an important part of your life, but it's not your whole life. And your university degree then maybe shouldn't only be about a job. I think you really want to take some time over these years to be able to think about what you want to do with your life. Who do you want to be? What do you want to contribute to the world? What do you value? What do you think is important? And the great virtue of a liberal arts program is that it gives you space and time to think through these questions. This is really what we do in our courses. We help you think about who you are, what you want to be, and how you fit into the world. And I just think there's nothing more important than that. So I'll end there and I'll turn things back to Christy. Thanks very much.